today is Dr. Jesse Ropat, a doctor of pharmacy turned creative strategist who works with direct response marketing brands. Jesse spends his time strategizing, writing copy, and helping brands connect with their audiences in a way that actually drives results. Jesse enjoys Muay Thai and spending time with his dog. And today we'll be talking about scaling business in the health and wellness space and why authentic audience connection matters more than ever. Jesse, it's a pleasure to have you on the Built to Scale podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. No, pleasure's all mine. I wouldn't have predicted that when we met, I think 2 years ago in Vegas,
That's
we'd
right.
be hopping on a podcast, but no, it's great that we've, stayed in contact this long.
For sure. Absolutely. There's so much to unpack with what you do and the trajectory of your career. But as a dog owner, I just want to hear a little bit about your dog and a little icebreaker, I guess.
Yeah. He's a big Bernese Saint Bernard Shepherd mix.
Nice.
You can kind of see him there. It's just a bit blown out. He's massive. He's like 90 pounds. And when I got him, they said he would be 50. So It was a bit of a shocker when he was already 50 pounds when he was 5 months or something like that. But no, he's awesome.
A little bait and switch, as they say.
I don't know. I mean, he was the biggest of the litter when he was born. So I should have seen it coming, but he's so awesome.
I think it's a great segue into business because we're always trying to figure things out. You have, I would say, a very interesting career. A lot of people in the direct response marketing space came in through the world of marketing, communications, email marketing, all that kind of stuff. And you have a doctor of pharmacy. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your journey and how we got to where we are today?
It is pretty random because all throughout my career, I was convinced I was, going to stay in medicine, whether I was going to do my MD or my PharmD, which I did. I wanted to be a chiropractor at the beginning of my career. So there was all kinds of journeys that I was planning to go on. And, I even did cancer research for 3 years, and I did a handful of publications there, which was super exciting. And I enjoyed it a lot. It was really rewarding. But I didn't see myself doing that forever. And then the same thing happened with pharmacy. I went through my degree. It was a 4-year degree to get my PharmD after university. So that was 9 years total. And I started working for a bit. I was working for this agency here in Toronto, and it was just not fulfilling. I found that every day was kind of the same. There wasn't a whole lot of novelty, I guess. And, I had some friends that were in the DR space that welcomed me in and got me my first client. And I don't want to name drop, he knows who he is. But after that, it was like, oh, okay, so this is an entirely new world. There's something here that I'm not even aware of, that nobody's aware of. And I was already kind of in that space because the job that I had within pharmacy with this agency I was working for, it was a work from home gig in a very, very specific niche, dealing with people with intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome, autism, and the like. And they were all living in group homes. So I was helping manage their medications. It was already super niche. Nobody within pharmacy knew this kind of job existed. And now I do something that even fewer people in pharmacy are even aware is a field, like direct response marketing. They probably are aware of marketing in general, but maybe not to the degree that we do. So, over the last almost 6 years being a pharmacist, I've started to realize that being within the actual health sphere is less and less interesting every single day, in the sense that I don't want to be patient facing all the time and having people yell at me across the counter and, fielding these phone calls with insurance companies. None of that interests me.
Mm-hmm. So it was trying to find purpose in what you were doing. It just wasn't working there.
Yeah, I felt like I had done what I could do at the agency that I was working at. And I thought, I want to try something new. And then my friend had floated this idea and I was like, yes, let's do it. And I flew out to, I think the first conference I did was ASE. So I flew out to New York and met his business partner and we started working together.
Okay.
And I met a handful of other people too. But in that conference, I can think back to it now. It was such a, fake it till you make it situation, because I was so green in the space. No one had coached me on what all these acronyms mean and what everyone does, the different kinds of jobs people do in the space. So I was so naive, and I was just clueless, just flying by the seat of my pants.
So you were in New York at Affiliate Summit East. How many years ago was this?
I think that was 3 years ago, something like that. So it wasn't a long ass time ago, but it was long enough ago that I've definitely learned a lot more than I know
For
now. So when I go to
sure.
conferences, I can talk with people about what they do,
Yeah.
because even still, like the stuff that I do is still kind of niche, and so there are certain areas that I'm completely unfamiliar with still that I want to learn more about, and I'm trying to learn more about. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's how I got here. I don't even know if I told it properly, but it's such a random occurrence that I ended up here, because I was sitting on a balcony with my buddy, and he was like, "Oh man, it'd be so cool if you had a doctorate, because like we could really use you for our brand." And I was like, "Bro, I do have a doctorate. We should do this." Yeah,
So tell me about that a little bit. So you're working with direct response companies, and the marketing is pretty broad. So people are
yeah,
scaling via affiliate marketing, content marketing, obviously paid media. That's something that I do a lot with the agency. But what you're doing is kind of unique, right? It's something that not everyone can do because of your studies that and your degrees that you have, right?
100%. When I do like research about what other doctors are doing and things like that in the space, even if I go on websites like Fiverr, it's always people who are like fake doctors. They're saying, "I'll wear a lab coat for you and act for your videos or whatever," but there's no substance behind it. I know even like brand owners. I'm part of this group NHB, which is Alan Sultanik's group, and I see offer owners all the time. They hop into the hot seats where they share what their new offer is, and they're the doctor, and they're not a doctor. Clearly, like I know who they are. They're not doctors, and just like it just sets off alarm bells in my head. I'm like, why in this day and age, when like you have access to real doctors, you can get them, and if you're looking for one, you can reach out to me too. But like, why take the risk of getting like this FTC claim against your company for using like fake doctors and all this stuff? Like, the fakes are going to get caught eventually. I think it's just more worthwhile to have someone who actually has that degree to give your brand like true authenticity. If someone Googles you and you're pretending to be a fake doctor, they'll see in 3 seconds that you don't have any kind of footprint in that space. If you Google me, you'll see like my publications, you'll see like articles written about me, all that sort of stuff adds credibility to like who I am and what I'm saying that I do. So yeah, I don't see the utility in like risking that. I think that's a risk for some brands for sure. Now,
Yeah.
hey, I mean, more power to you. If you want to do that, go for it. But
For sure. I mean, there definitely a ton of ways to scale, and obviously scaling with a reputable face is that the best way? I mean, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your day's like. I mean, I imagine it's more than just getting in front of a product and the camera and saying, "I'm Dr. Jesse Ropat and I approve of this," right? So why don't you
yeah,
tell
for
our
sure.
listeners about what what a doctor of pharmacy would bring to a brand and what they kind of do on a day-to-day basis to help them scale?
Sure. I mean, when I reach out to new brands, for example, there are a couple different ways I approach it. One is that many brands have their own in-house marketing team, and they'll already have scripts written for authority figures, and maybe they have existing winners they want to plug and play and see if I can beat their control. So they'll have existing scripts that they'll send me. Then there are some brands who are kind of leaner on the marketing aspect, and they don't maybe have as many writers working on their team. They want me to write the scripts, and that's fine. I have that ability to do so. So on a weekly basis, I'm either writing, filming, or working on my own offer. Those are like the three main things that I do. The writing takes up, I would say, the majority of my time. I'm usually writing 3 days out of the week, Monday to Wednesday. And
Okay.
Thursday and Friday, I'm either filming for existing brands or working on launching my own offer, which it's still in its infancy. So I really have nothing to talk about it right now. Um, but when I'm filming, you know, I have like a whole bunch of different settings that I can use in my space, and
Okay.
um, get different B-roll shots for them. Like it essentially turns into like an elevated content creation role, because it's all the shots have to be semi-professional because
Hmm.
it's still like a doctor representing a brand.
Yeah. So you're writing scripts that these brands could be using. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, 100%,
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Very cool. And like, I mean, the health and wellness space is so broad. Do you have a specialty in certain fields of medicine and certain chronic issues, or?
Well, I like to think of my degree as kind of like a Swiss Army knife. I'm not a dermatologist, so I can't say I'm perfect for the skin industry. I'm not, a surgeon, so I can't say I'm perfect for, pain relief angles, or, joint supplements, things like that. But a doctor of pharmacy has a wide ranging skill set and knowledge base that I like to draw on. So I don't necessarily limit myself to one particular niche. It
Hmm.
seems like a lot of the brands that want to work with me are related to feet for some reason, whether it's foot fungus or orthotic shoes, compression socks, tons and tons of feet brands. And then men's health. Men's health seems to be popular right now as well. So like testosterone boosting supplements, things like that.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But I've worked with all kinds of brands over the years.
Very, very cool. And I like that analogy of the Swiss Army knife. When it comes to digital marketing, you really need that Swiss Army knife approach, probably in everything you do. And definitely being the face of a health and wellness brand definitely helps that you're able to, you're able to work on scripts, you're able to look at formulations and really offer that professional opinion. But what about just in terms of, you know, brand starting out? You mentioned you're working on something in a stealth mode, and there's so many people in the space that do or do not have the ability to hire. So where do you think it comes in? Because it sounds like that you would say that every brand should really have some face to the company. It
I
sounds
would
like
say the
that.
majority of them could benefit from it. It doesn't have to be me, of course, but I
Hmm.
mean, more and more people, and I've been talking to brands about this too. Like more and more people are skeptical. I'm sure you've noticed it too. Like there are so many content creators out there that it almost becomes, and this is my opinion, but it almost becomes like you're being inundated by these people who are clearly trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
And you almost become immune to these messages. Like the same content creators you're seeing, the same kind of messaging, the same viral hooks you're seeing. And I for sure notice it for myself when I see ads like that. I just click off or scroll away.
Yeah.
And
But at what stage? At what stage do you think like a brand, like as they're laying down their digital footprint and they want to scale,
yeah,
is
I
it?
think this could be something pre-launch as well, that like if a brand is pre-launch and they want to launch with a doctor on their landing page, I don't think there's a bad time to include a doctor. I think if you were to launch a lander without a doctor and launch a lander with it, 99% of the time, the authority figure is going to win.
Mhm.
I firmly believe that because it just adds more trust to the brand. People feel like there's more credibility with it. And I've noticed it with the offers that I work with too. Like ROAS is higher, click through rates higher, refund rates lower for some of those for the ads as well. Like it just seems to really benefit the ad account.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. You spoke a little bit about VSLs, like video sales letters and copy. I wonder where you see things going with this. This is definitely, I think, a hot topic. There are a lot of opinions on this, especially in the direct response space, because a lot of people are trying to kind of, I wouldn't say like run, but maybe kind of pivot a little bit more towards e-com
Mhm.
play when it comes to their product, and maybe try to build a brand and not just a product. But where do you see things like with in terms of like long form copy?
They're still crushing.
They're still crushing.
Yeah, the brands I'm working with that are running VSLs, they're crushing.
Okay.
Like there's no doubt about it. I mean, the e-com side, for sure, the subs are better, and the subs are a very healthy thing to have, especially if you can. Like if you're a brand that it makes sense to have subs, I think most brands should. And the ROAS requirements are much lower for that. Like there are benefits for both e-com and VSL, but the VSL, like even long form VSLs, 35, 45-minute VSLs, they're still working.
They're
Still
still
very, very,
working.
yeah, they're still very successful.
Are you seeing that like across the board, or do you seeing that with only specific mediums, let's say like meta ads, or maybe email marketing, or?
That's a good question. I don't know as much about the email side of it. I'm not really involved too much with that. I have some brands that do use me in email marketing, but I don't know as much about their metrics because that's a pretty recent launch. Like the old clients I had about 3 years ago did a lot of email, and that was healthy for the account. But no, I'm seeing it strictly with the meta. Like that's just what I'm seeing, but it's extremely effective.
Hmm.
They're
And in
printing.
terms of compliance, you think it helps having a face of, you know,
Every VSL that I'm working with or tangentially working with, like if as a writer as well, they all have a clearly visible authority figure in them, and they start
hmm
off with it. Yeah, Yeah, it's always got an authority figure. I don't have a single brand I write for, or obviously that I'm the face of, that doesn't have an authority figure. That almost
Okay.
is redundant, but yeah, everyone that I work with on the writing side has a doctor in their
Yeah.
VSL. It's like a necessity, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And dealing in terms of compliance, obviously, you want things to have like, a pizzazz when it comes to the marketing. You want to keep things persuasive and make things sell. But, in terms of that versus the science, like how do you balance the line in terms of like where are you going to keep things compliant, but obviously keep things.
Okay, so you're saying like how far can we push the claims while still being compliant and keeping like I guess like the like truth to it, or are you saying like the
Yeah.
editing style or
Well, I'm saying that if someone's running an ad with let's say your brand, or they're running it with some other doctor, and their doctor is making claims, presumably they're credible claims. Obviously,
yeah.
we're not talking about going over that red line, but in terms of just having a doctor there, are you able to kind of, let's say, get closer to the red line? Are you able to, or do you think keep things pretty conservative and just go on the hopes that I'm wearing a lab coat, and I have, if they want to Google me, they'll find me and they'll see my papers and stuff, and they'll know that I am a real person and a real doctor of pharmacy.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Have I worked with brands who push or try to push closer to that line? For sure. Never with any like true black hat stuff. I don't work with black hat. And I think
Mm-hmm.
more people are walking away from that too. But
Yep.
do I think you could push it closer to the line with an authority figure? Probably. But it also needs like a pretty easily defensible mechanism. Like people also much more aware of these extremes that people promise, whether it's like, millions of people have lost, 30 pounds over 15 days using this supplement. Like truly unbelievable claims are, I think, setting off alarm bells for people more and more. So do I think you can get closer with an authority figure to that line? Probably, but it also has to make sense. It also has to have that believability factor too, and it has to be rooted in some truth. Like what you're saying has to have some level of truth where people hear it and they go, "Oh, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense." Like if I'm writing for a dog company like that, has joint supplements, and I want to talk about how dogs are walking on concrete floors and hard, wooden floors 90% of the time instead of living in wooded forests, which are less painful on their joints. There's some believability to that. So it just has to make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when it comes to scale, like, so what separates health brands that scale from the ones that are struggling?
That is a really good question. I've been trying to figure that out too, because I was working with this brand and I swear we tried 50,000 different creatives and just nothing was working. And I'm like, I'm looking at two completely different accounts that I'm writing for. And one, my ads are beating controls and like scaling, and another, nothing is working. And I'm like, what is the answer? Is it the editors? Is it, you know, is the offer just fatigued? Like, is this not appealing to people anymore? Was it a
It was
seasonal
this,
thing?
and it was the same targeting. Everything was like 1-to-1.
Pretty well, yeah. And I'm like, what is going on here? And we're still trying to figure it out. We don't know the answer. If you have the answer, let me know because I'm dying to know.
It's the $1 million question.
Yeah. No, I don't have a good answer for that one. I wish if I did, that'd be in a much different place. Yeah.
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 Well, I do know, and I could shed a little bit of light on this, that, when it comes to marketing, you can take a creative from, let's say, 5 years ago and just slap it on a meta ad today and say, here, voila. Things evolve, things change. And even going back 10 to 15 years, I remember when I was, first starting the email marketing space, it was a totally different breed. So you work heavily in the direct response marketing space, which does great, but things definitely evolve, right? So I think definitely trying to stay ahead of the curve, and like you said, like, you do want to test a lot of things. You said you kind of put up 50,000, maybe not
Yeah,
50,000,
exaggerating.
but
Yeah,
I
but
understand.
tons of
Yeah,
times creative.
a
Yeah.
ton. And they say like a good creative, like a winning creative will be like, 5 to 10% of the time. So yeah, so
Yeah,
I don't
it
have the
was
answer,
around
but
that metric, but we wanted higher. Actually, like some other brands, the hit rate's actually higher than that too, which is really good. So I think it just like can also depend on the niche. You know, sometimes it just works better in certain spaces, but
are you seeing anything like in terms of like return on ad spend stuff working differently, let's say on Meta versus channels like Google?
I don't have any brands running on Google right now. We had a lot of stuff on AppLovin, had a lot of success on there, but Meta is primarily where the brands that I work with live. So yeah, I don't have a great answer for that one because it's pretty siloed. Like the brands I'm working with, it's almost just like straight to Meta.
And they're basically just focusing solely on Meta, these brands. They're not.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's interesting because Meta is kind of like, a top of funnel. Everyone logs on to their Facebook or Instagram reels
Mm-hmm.
multiple times a day, and invariably they're going to be hit up with multiple ads in their feed, and then kind of move on.
I
And
mean, it's possible they're running stuff that I'm not aware of. Like
that you're not aware of.
maybe I'm just not on those
Okay,
Slack channels, for example. Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, because what we're seeing is like kind of like a holistic type of approach definitely pays dividends because someone will bounce off Facebook, they'll say what was that issue, that chronic issue, whatever, and how did Meta know that I had that issue, and then they'll start googling it, and then they'll come up with your site, or maybe they'll get to an Amazon shopping page or something like that.
Yep. Oh yeah,
So
they're like the brands are on Amazon as well. At least a few of them that I'm working with. So they do like diversify, but I'm only really involved in like either meta ad writing or when I launch the creatives, usually I find them on Meta or like they're sharing like the Meta link for the final ad. If they're running on other avenues, I don't really know, but
yeah, but you definitely need a lot of ads to succeed in this space.
yeah, volume seems to be the name of the game, which is not a bad thing, but it's just more challenging these days to find like winning creatives.
Yeah, yeah, and I presume obviously with AI, it's a double-edged sword. It definitely helps producing a lot of creatives, but then there's probably just a lot of slop that comes out from it.
I'm having the hardest time with that, man. I use Claude mostly, so my Claude projects are very strong, and now I'm trying to branch out into Claude code and develop AI agentic a workforce for me essentially to try and do some other tasks. And I just find it's just not as effective. Maybe I have to train it up better, but it's been such a process learning how to get these agents to work and write at a level that my Claude projects currently do. So if anyone's watching this and you have the answer or somebody I should talk to, like please let me know.
Yeah.
But like the AI is good, but yeah, exactly. It's your exact point. If I was to send my Claude code agent to every Sunday write 6 ads and I'll review them on Monday, I know for a fact I'm just going to get a bunch of trash in the morning, and it's just going to be stuff I have to sift through that I don't find useful. I find it much better, especially for the writing, to tell it like a cohesive plan. Here's the mechanism I want you to use, and maybe the avatar and the overarching message, even the format. Like almost essentially spell it all out for the AI and then have it give me my first draft and then whittle away at that. I find that much more effective and even like more time efficient.
So you're going back and forth with your AI.
Yeah, and maybe that's the wrong approach. I mean, maybe someone's watching and going, "Oh, this idiot," but it's working so far.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It was, if it's working for you, and then keep going at it.
Yeah.
It's I would imagine it's saving you time in terms of where you were, let's say 2 years ago.
For sure. 2 years ago, I was still writing a lot of stuff just by hand,
Hmm.
and but that was fine too. I think AI, the benefit is the time saving in ideation. I mean, you can have it just generate 50 ideas in 10 seconds, and most of them are trash, but some of them end up being really, really good winners. So I love it for that aspect. And then the writing too. It's getting closer every day. I'm slowly whittling away at it as like an iterative process to get closer to the final draft as soon as possible. But it's very effective. It's very effective.
Are you open to testing stuff that when you're going through it, let's say on a Monday morning or whatever it is, you get your drafts from Claude. Are you only going to go with those the cream of the crop, or are you going to go, you know what, I'm not sure about this, let the audience decide? Where do you sit on that?
No, I'm picking the best ones because, I mean, for some offers, we're only launching a couple net news a week for that
Hmm.
specific offer. So I'm like, it's got to be heavy hitters. It's got to be the ones that I really see like potential with, because it just puts together a lot of crap that, like, frankly, the ad account already has. So it doesn't need more of the same and at a worse, execution. So even when I get like quote unquote winners or like ads that I think have heavy potential, they're almost always 80% of the way there. It still needs a bit of work. We have to like buff out a lot of edges.
Hmm.
It's almost
Yeah.
never perfect. There are some brands that I've done that with, but like the ones that I'm writing for right now, I'm really taking it as seriously as possible to make sure that they come out very polished. Uh, so no, I wouldn't launch them like that. I'm sure there are some people doing it, and it's probably successful. I think it just depends. The copy I'm writing mostly right now are essentially mini VSLs leading to a larger VSL.
Okay.
So the story has to be cohesive. Everything just has to make sense, and the flow has to be there. The structure of the ad has to be really solid.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes it gets it, sometimes it doesn't.
So your ads are, you would like categorize them as a mini VSL?
Pretty well. They're about 2.5 to 4 minutes long, and they're almost all. Well, now I'm writing for their ecom side as well, but they're almost always selling the click to the VSL.
Okay.
Yeah,
So click to the VSL. So you have a hook, a body, and then a CTA, basically a call to
yeah,
action.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then what's your strategy like when it comes to, I guess squeezing that lemon for all the juice that it has? Like, how many hooks are you putting on? Are
Mm.
you testing with? How many bodies are you testing with? Are you testing all call to action? I mean, obviously, most people won't even see the call to action, just statistically speaking.
Yeah, yeah. We usually test 4 hooks at a time. The body is usually where like the meat of the net new comes in. If I'm writing a net new, if let's say I've got a winning ad from before and I have a brand new mechanism that I think really still works well with our existing VSL, I'll just swap in the mechanism and maybe throw some new hooks or some clickbait in front, something that is just more attention grabbing than maybe our previous hook, and try that. But the majority of the time, the remainder of the body, except for like the mechanism and the intro, if the format is the same, if the avatar is the same as well, like I'm keeping those relatively untouched from like winning concepts that we've written. Because like you said, most people aren't making it to the close anyway. Like the win is in like the first 30% of the ad anyway. Uh, so most of my focus is on the hook and the intro, just making those as compelling as possible, throwing in a couple open loops to make sure people stick around long enough to sell them that click, and that's where most of the win happens.
Yeah, cool. And in terms of just the future, like obviously it's a hard thing to predict, but where do
Yeah.
you see things going in terms of the digital marketing space? You said earlier how you're still getting a lot of success with your long VSLs and stuff. Do you see that continuing? Do you see people's attention spans, maybe getting a little bit smaller, and that's going to be an issue going down the road? Where are you looking in terms of where do you see things where do you see things going?
I have a couple predictions. One, because so I'm a millennial. I was born in the '90s, and I noticed that there's this resurgence of people who are trying to escape from their phone. They're trying to pull back from the apps and being glued to a screen all day. Even though, of course, like 99% of my job, I'm stuck at either this screen or this screen. But people are trying to pull away from these social media sites. Like they're looking actively for ways to get away from this or to ground themselves. They want to touch grass. They want to be outside and not be bombarded with AI slop. So do I think that their attention span is going to get better? Like people my age who are going to be like the new like boomer age eventually. Yeah, I think that's the case, that our attention span is possibly going to improve if people step back from these sites. Does that mean the VSLs are going to keep working? I don't know, because most of my VSLs target people that are a bit older. So do I think that they're going to work on people my age when I'm that age?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think possibly, or it'll have to be like a fundamental shift in the format that it's presented in, maybe shorter VSLs, because I don't think that the attention span we have compared to our parents, let's say, is ever going to be equal ever again. I think we've done like irreparable damage having these phones and like the
Interesting.
internet at our
Yeah.
fingertips. Yeah, I think that's like a fundamental chemical shift
Mm-hmm.
in our brains that I don't think we're going to come back from.
Okay.
Maybe you disagree, and maybe someone watching disagrees too, but this is what I think.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought. I mean, I think with like a detox, you could probably definitely go through a detox and kind of just, I guess, reprogram your brain.
Do you see it like an alcoholic weaning off liquor? Like, do you see like in the sense that someone who was once an alcoholic could now, live completely alcohol free and be completely happy? In the same sense that someone who is completely glued to their phone and addicted one day could
Yeah.
go and not even think twice about that screen, for example.
Well, in terms of just like alcoholism and stuff like that, the answer for that is it has to be a total cut off of it. So
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't totally align with that. It would have to be, I don't know. You would have to definitely make a conscious effort
We got to go
to
back
go
to
through
flip
a
phones, maybe.
program, maybe flip phones, but yeah, it would be interesting. It would be interesting if it also, and there probably are apps out there that do this, where it kind of just makes smartphones smart, where it says, it kind of just, you program it so it fits it, so it suits your needs. I mean, I have that a little bit with my iPhone, where it's like, it winds down at night for me, so I can't be reached. But the apps are still there, and you could always get to things. So it's definitely something that you need to be on top of in terms of your phone time. But it's definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting concept. But yeah, what were you saying?
Well, I know there are like apps out there, like, or even physical products like Brick, or they're just apps that block your phone for a certain period of time. And I've just heard stories of people doing whatever they can to circumvent that block that they've just put in place for themselves to access that app again, or to do, doom scroll or whatever. And yeah, it's like you said, people will find a way if they want to. I think it comes down to determination. I don't know. Is it like, just being able to stick to some sort of plan, be more rigid with your time. I
Yeah.
don't know.
But ultimately, we definitely, at least people that are working in the direct response marketing space, definitely need these devices, whether it's a smartphone or a laptop or
Yeah.
tablet, whatever it is, to communicate to potential customers on these channels. I would say though that, like, in terms of the VSL space, the video sales letter, where you just click onto a landing page and then you're just taken to this 45-minute video, the technology really hasn't changed much. I do remember reading a few years back, people were trying to develop more interactive, a kind of like choose your own adventure type of style, but that really hasn't really caught up. I really haven't seen much of that, but I am a little bit wary that the 45-minute VSL is going to, still be part of the digital marketing Swiss Army knife.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say in another 5, 6 years from now.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it. I see. I have a hard time seeing people gravitating towards that.
I agree with you. It would have to be. I'm seeing a resurgence, not a resurgence, but I'm seeing more and more like micro VSLs, uh,
Hmm.
and I think those certainly have their place.
Yeah.
I think they're going to replace those longer form ones. I don't know if in the next 5 6 years. I mean, it's possible, um, because people who are in their 60s now, I think, are still biting on those, because they're compelling in
Hmm.
many ways. But yeah, eventually they will go away. I
Yeah.
firmly believe that. Yeah.
It would be interesting, like if we could somehow like narrow the gap between those 45-minute VSLs and those 2-minute mini VSLs that you're talking about, and just maybe have a 10-minute video that kind of just leads to a direct purchase page. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've seen that or if you've tested that.
I know of brands that have tested that. From what I can tell, it seems to be effective. Yeah, they've launched, 12, 15-minute. Well, the one brand I'm thinking of is Neuro. They've launched like 12 to 15-minute VSLs on their
Hmm.
Facebook page. I'm sure that goes right to their lander. I haven't done a funnel assessment of them, but I'm sure that that's working for them because they've launched hundreds of those different concepts on Meta. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely I would imagine that Meta likes those ads because it keeps people on Meta for longer. However, a longer ad, they'll probably going to charge more for CPM or something like that.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't worked with a brand that's done that. So I haven't actually seen behind the curtain of like the ad account for something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Cool.
I wanted to launch some like medium form VSLs with this other brand, but they just they never came to fruition. We always just stuck with like those 1 to 3 minute meta ads, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. So wow. So we unpacked a lot in terms of just scaling, being authentic out there, having a real face, someone that really knows their stuff. That it's not just a brand that someone decided to go into because they saw other people doing it and figured, hey, I can make money doing this. But rather, it's important to be honest and authentic out there. And Jesse, you definitely know your stuff. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, man. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I totally agree. It's the authenticity is what's going to make or break it. I think brands that focus more on, building a relationship with their customers are going to succeed much more rapidly, and doing it in like an organic and just, yeah, sincere way is, I think, what people connect with more nowadays.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So where can listeners find you? Where are you hanging out these days on social media?
On Facebook, it's Jesse Ropat. I have two
Okay.
pages because I had a personal one and I relaunched a more professional one. Either one of them, you can find me.
Yep.
And then on Instagram, it's at Dr. Jesse Ropat. I don't think I have a TikTok yet. Brand's been asking me, so one day it'll be on there too.
Well, we'll definitely put that in the show notes. Let me just ask you like one follow-up question because you said you have Facebook and Instagram. Are you posting the same stuff there, or is it more like more reels and stuff on Instagram, or is it the same stuff because like you figure some people are there and some people are here?
So if you go on my professional Insta, there's actually nothing on there yet. I haven't even taken the time to build my professional Instagram yet. It's mostly whitelisting actually that brands use that page for.
Okay.
Which is has been really successful. But this year, rest assured, I'm launching and producing some creatives for that and repurposing old creatives for it. So it won't look so barren, but right now it is blank. There's nothing on there. It's just been used for whitelisting so far.
Well, hopefully some of these clips will be good enough for that page.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure, man.
Awesome. Well, it's been a real pleasure, Jesse. Thank you so much for joining me on the Built to Scale podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. A pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to the Built to Scale podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a conversation about what it really takes to build and scale in today's market. For more information about Built to Scale and how we help companies grow, visit builttoscale.co. If you have suggestions for future guests or topics, send us a note at podcast@builttoscale.co. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, this is your host, Shmuel Herschberg. And remember to keep building, keep testing, and keep scaling.